Hillary hearts Bernie. Okay, well, maybe a heart with a knife in it. Hi, I'm Scott Ott with Steve Green and Bill Whittle, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com, also by our friends over at the Patriot Post, America's News Digest. We'll provide a link to the Patriot Post in the description below. Gentlemen, there is a documentary coming out on Hulu, I believe in March, called Hillary. Guess what the subject is? And it is based on a couple of thousand hours of archival footage that Hillary had been keeping on herself. It was her own little data bank of video. And so there are all kinds of fascinating things about this video from a certain perspective. But I thought one of the most timely was her comments about Bernie Sanders, the current presidential candidate, in the documentary. And she's being interviewed by a reporter with regard to this documentary. And the reporter says, in the documentary, you're brutally honest on Sanders. And this is a quote from Hillary Clinton in the documentary. He, meaning Bernie Sanders, was in Congress for years. He had one senator support him. Nobody likes him. Nobody wants to work with him. He got nothing done. He was a career politician. It's just all baloney, and I feel so bad that people got sucked into it. So that was the end of the quote, and the interviewer says, does that assessment still hold? And Hillary says, yes, it does. Stephen Green, Hillary Clinton says she has moved on from the 2016 election and that she would be perfectly content for the rest of her life to live outside of the sphere of the political arena, so to speak. Does it sound that way to you?
No. Although I got to tell you, I would love to actually hear Hillary off the hook, just completely unleashed. When you hear something like this, you think, oh, you're really getting a peek behind the curtain here of Hillary land, except I don't think you are. There was a moment I'll never forget in, I guess it was 2008. I'm pretty sure it was during the Obama transition period when Hillary had been named as Secretary of State, but neither one of them had been sworn in yet. And she was appearing.
Could you please clarify the Obama transition period? That phrase, I think, can may cause people to wonder what he was transitioning from.
During the entire 8 years?
No. Yeah, it could be. No, the time between the election and his swearing in.
Oh, I see. It had nothing to do with who he is as a person.
When he was issuing directives from the office of the president-elect.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
That's the one. Oh, yeah. Good times. Good times. So Hillary is on one of the Sunday morning chat shows, and she's being interviewed by a female unbiased journalist who asks her point blank, how as Secretary of State are you going to help with the fundamental transformation, stealing Obama's line, that America requires? And Hillary's jaw kind of dropped. And it wasn't, my read on Hillary's reaction was, honey, you can't say that out loud. You're going to give the game away. But I think my initial reaction was, to Hillary's reaction might have been wrong in retrospect, because I'm thinking Hillary has profited greatly from the system. We are sort of in this banana republic phase right now where the politically corrected can grow very rich, and the Clintons were really the first to exploit that in a big way. So when I read a quote like this from her, I really don't believe that she's just, letting it all hang out because she doesn't have any political ambitions anymore. I think she's trying to sabotage in her own small way the Bernie Sanders campaign because she sees him as a potential threat to the system that has profited her and her family so very greatly. What I would really like to hear, though, she is, keep in mind, I hate Hillary with the white hot intensity of 1,000 dying suns. But I do respect her as being...
Is that all?
That's all. I do respect her as being very smart and very, very mean. And what I would love to do is just get a box of Chardonnay in her and actually have her not dribble out little fake reveals like this one, but really get her to let it all hang out, because she's got stories about Bill that she will never tell. She has got dirt on Biden. She's got dirt on everybody, and just the opportunity to actually get her drunk and to spill all these secrets, that might be politically the most enjoyable thing anybody will ever experience, but she's too calculating and it'll never, ever happen. And what a shame.
My favorite part of what Steve just said is get a box of Chardonnay and it's like, let's get a
pallet.
Let's get a plastic bag of Chardonnay and Hillary Clinton.
Now, you know it's funny, but you also know I'm right.
Oh, no. It's just, it's so much better than saying get a bottle. It's the box that it's really, you had me at box. So, Bill, there's more to this interview that Hillary Clinton did in advance of the release of her Hulu documentary, Hillary. They ask her specifically regarding this little kerfuffle between Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Bernie Sanders, and the allegation that Bernie Sanders once told Warren privately that a woman couldn't be elected president. And so Hillary, in a rather long answer, Hillary then gets around to that and says, then this argument about whether or not he did or he didn't say that a woman couldn't be elected, it's part of a pattern. If it were a one-off, you might say, okay, fine. But he said I was unqualified. I had a lot more experience than he did and got a lot more done than he did, but that was his attack on me. I just think people need to pay attention because we want, hopefully, to elect a president who's going to try to bring us together and not either turn a blind eye or actually reward the kind of insulting, attacking, demeaning, degrading behavior that we've seen from the current administration. Bill, that last cut is the unkindest of all, linking Bernie Sanders' sexism with President Donald Trump, at least to her audience. What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, as we learn in Steve Green's episode of Right Angle this week, it's pretty clear Bernie doesn't want to win the election. And one of Steve's major points is that he just handed her the email thing in that first debate back in 2006. Nobody cares about your emails. And this is Hillary's way of repaying him and thanking him for that piece of political kindness. You know, there comes a time for me when I just don't know what else to say about this person other than it's almost like she's got a neon sign around her neck, you know, that says, everything I'm about to accuse everyone of, I did. Yes. For example, I hate to put you to the work here, Scotty, but you heard her demeaning Bernie Sanders. So I was wondering, just for example, if you could read what she said about Bernie Sanders, change the he to she, and tell me if that doesn't sound like Hillary Clinton's campaign.
What you would like me to actually?
Hillary Clinton's Senate. Yes, I would. Please. This is Hillary talking about Bernie Sanders. But if you change the he to she, tell me this doesn't apply to Hillary Clinton.
She was in Congress for years. She had one senator support her. Nobody likes her. Nobody wants to work with her. She got nothing done. She was a career politician. It's all baloney, and I feel so bad that people got sucked into it.
Wow.
I rest my case, Your Honor. Hillary, you know, there's so much. There are a lot of people that I disagree with in politics, and there are people whose policies I find repugnant and awful. And Bernie Sanders is a great example of a person who I think is lazy and a moral coward, and I don't respect him in any way. But Hillary Clinton will make you think kind thoughts about Barack Obama, which is really quite an accomplishment if you really think about it. There is a fundamental rot inside of that person. I mean, a real obvious fundamental rot. And that's not a term I can think of applying to any other politician, even the ones I just completely loathe. She is just plain broken and bad person. Many people have pointed out that watching Hillary respond emotionally pretending to respond emotionally to things, you can see the marks of a person who genuinely has essentially no emotional connection to anybody, acting how she's supposed to act when somebody tells a joke or when she comes out on stage and she pretends to see somebody in the audience. You know, it's a cartoon. And I remember it so clearly. I saw it on Instapundit. I couldn't tell you when it was. I want to say it must have been when we were all getting started back in, late 2000s, 2004, 5, 6, somewhere in there. And somebody had said that Hillary Clinton had not been seen for a while, and that she was getting she was getting a humanity upgrade to her software and repairs being made on her outer titanium hull, and I thought, yeah, that's it. She's a person who has spent her life trying to win over people she hates. All of them. She hates us. She hates her own people. She hates Bill. She hates everybody. And obviously the person she hates the most is herself. And despite the fact that I think justice is a long way away from Hillary Clinton, it's hard to imagine a fate worse than the one she's going through now for a person with her particular psychosis. To have been telling yourself your entire life, no matter what I do, how many people commit suicide around me that I had nothing to do with, all of this stuff in order to finally have a woman president that girls can look up to and stuff. And then to just fumble that ball, like on the one, it's like she spiked the ball on the 1 yard line, it's just fun. And then Donald Trump just picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown. Which was a great moment in American history. She's just nasty, Scott. And I would be willing to bet you that even if she selected these clips by hand for this documentary, which I'm sure is the case, you will watch the documentary and you'll come out of it. You may understand a little bit more about her, but you won't like her any better. She's just not a good person. And how she's managed to stay in the public eye this long is an indication of how sick this society has gotten.
Well, obviously, I have not yet seen the Hulu documentary Hillary, but I do offer this pre-review. It's 4 hours of your life that you just can't get back. So I just kind of a warning and a preview of that. Let me just finish up with Hillary Clinton's own words. In fact, toward the end of this interview that was published in The Hollywood Reporter, that's where we're drawing this interview from. The reporter asks Mrs. Clinton what she learned by watching the documentary, because now Hillary has screened the documentary about her own self. And she said, "What did you learn about yourself as you watched the series?" Here's what Hillary Clinton says. "The only thing that I have ever thought about is, could I have done a better job for all the people who say, I never really knew her or never really got her? Could I have done a better job conveying that than I did when I was in front and center in the public eye?" And the reporter follows up and says, "What would that have looked like?" And this is really to Bill's point. Hillary says, "See, I don't know the answer." The woman factor is obviously there, but I've thought about what I could have done differently or better. But that's water under the dam, as they say.
Did she say water under the dam?
Was she joking?
I don't know. I'm
At
reading.
this point, what difference does it make?
Thank goodness it makes none at all.
So, ladies and gentlemen, nobody cares about your damn emails, and it's all water under the dam anyway. I'm sure that most of our
country's in the very best of hands.
I guess I would just say that our members should take care that you don't inadvertently DVR this Hulu series. Do all you can to avoid contact with it.
Because your DVR will suddenly stop working. It'll like it just died. I don't know what happened to it. It was working great, and it ran the Hillary thing, and next thing I know, it's just, you won't even turn on.
But it is really, I guess if it were possible to muster any kind of human compassion for somebody who seems to lack so little of it toward others herself, there is a kind of profound sadness to a person who still believes that everything was about her. And that, when asked a question about Elizabeth Warren, she responds by talking about the situation regarding her own life, and who says, on the one hand, I could be perfectly happy outside of the political arena and I haven't missed it at all. And on the other hand, it's clear that that she would just as soon curl up under the covers in a fetal position and continue to weep over the fact that the full ambition of her life from the moment she met Bill Clinton utterly failed and ultimately failed. So that's kind of a sad thing. It's also kind of a psychological condition that I think can be treated with medication, but not the kind of medication that she's indulging in. Ladies and gentlemen, we are glad that you have supported this enterprise. If you're a member at BillWhittle.com, we're grateful for that. So for Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks for watching Right Angle.